Today on Countertop Conversations, I have my colleague, my trusted appliance source, John McGrade here. I've been working with John at Tasco for, John, how long has it been?
20 years?
20 years.
19 minimum. Yeah, probably 20 now.
Really, it's been instrumental in carrying us through the pandemic, and you've been really supportive. But also, you've been dealing with a lot of challenges. And I have to say, I don't know if I told you this, but in the time we've talked in the last year, you're my barometer for how bad things are, right? Your stress levels are really my barometer. It's been a challenge. Supply chain issues are real, they're here, and that's what we want to talk about today. But I gotta ask, when did your stress level peak in this entire pandemic with all these issues? Has it peaked? Did it peak at a time? How is that for you now?
Well, I think basically the peak stress happened early summer into the fall. Last year, I was told that right through the first two quarters, if you sell it, we'll ship it in 4 to 6 months. And it became very apparent, but it became very apparent that that wasn't the case, that these delays were going to be in place for much longer than the supply side wanted to admit. And so then I started digging in a little bit. And essentially, the industry never had any more than maybe 45 days slack in it, period. In other words, if everybody went home, there's maybe 45 days worth of appliances in North America, and then we're out of appliances. And what happened at the beginning of the pandemic, the industry shut down, fearing that they were going to have made these appliances that nobody was going to buy because nobody knew what was going to happen, and worst case scenario. So to protect their overhead and their costs, etc., they shut the plants down, furloughed their employees, and quit building appliances. But a different thing happened. What happened was that people continued to build and renovate, and then people began to wear out their appliances at a rate that was different than we were used to, because people who normally ran their dishwasher twice a week, in some cases were running it twice a day. An oven that might have got turned on 2 or 3 times a day was doing 2 or 3 meals a day. And these older appliances just let go. They couldn't be repaired for a lot of cases because of lockdowns, and you couldn't get a technician to come to your home, or maybe you didn't want a technician in your home. So across North America, there was this enormous surge in replacement demand, much higher than any sort of normal replacement business would be. And this basically emptied the warehouses, mine and Lowe's and Home Depot and anybody else that was out there. And when we reached out to the manufacturers, then they went, bad. Too bad, we've got my plants shut. So then they tried to get back up and running, but they never got enough people in to get running overtime. They never got the plants back to running, in many cases at even 100%. And then the normal day-to-day operations of the plants were also compromised. Machines break down. You need a technician to come in and retool. Louie, you have millions of dollars worth of equipment in your shop, and you know that sometimes a machine goes down, you can't do something for a week or two. But these week or twos became months or twos. And then all of a sudden, the demand was high, the output was much compromised, and there was this backlog went from 30 to 60 to 90, 120, to now the manufacturers realize all of a sudden they've got a real problem, and they begin to do things like allocation. So they say, you know what, instead of building 40 dishwashers, we're only going to build 20 dishwashers. And then so this is all just COVID and manufacturing. And then the supply chain problem hit. Then all of a sudden, this worldwide, just a lack of inability to move product. You couldn't get containers in the US trucks, truck drivers, there's like a huge shortage. So all of a sudden that crimped on top of that. And then this microchip was like the feather in the cap. So most modern appliances have a microchip of some kind in it. Dishwashers can have as many as 2 or 3. You'll see that the higher end dishwashers are hugely impacted because most of those dishwashers are running 2 separate chips, and the manufacturers simply cannot get enough quantity of chips to make the appliances. We should have reached the point, barring any further Omicron disasters, where the industry is starting to dig out from the backlog. But having said that, you need to know that if you need some product today, 6 to 8 months is not an unreasonable timeline now in our industry.
Talk to me about some of this new exciting stuff that's happening.
Sub-Zero Wolf has a whole new connectivity package in all of their Wolf and Sub-Zero product. Their designer integrated refrigeration is getting a refresh this year. There's going to be some brilliant innovation in that. The new Wolf cooking is brilliantly intuitive. Miele has launched their new 7000 cooking. Brilliant product. And again, all of these products bring to the consumer a connectivity and an ability to manage your appliances in ways that you haven't been able to do before. And a lot of us think, well, I don't know, but we all go back to when smartphones began. Everybody said, well, I just need a phone. But now we use all of them, a smartphone's technology. And I think clients are going to get into that with appliances as well.
Just to demystify some of this interconnectedness, because a lot of people have these fancy ideas about what that means, but what are the features of interconnectedness?
So basically, it's going to mean, for example, if you were on your way home, you could fire up your Gen Air oven and it would be preheated and ready for you when you came through the door. And when you came in the door, you could put dinner in the oven and then go on about closing down your day, maybe finishing up a few emails, maybe getting the kids sorted after school. And your phone's going to beep and tell you, you don't have to worry about burning dinner. Your phone's going to let you know your dinner's ready. It's 5 minutes prior, go ready to get it out of the oven. On refrigeration and things like that, if you're traveling, if you've been away for a while, you'll be able to put your refrigerator on vacation mode, save yourself some hydro, know that you're coming home, start it back up again. All of this stuff seems really a little bit silly when you first start talking about it, but if you think about how busy all of our lives have become and how dependent we are on technology, this is just going to mean that you're going to be able to manage your appliances without actually being in the kitchen. And then on the other side of it, on the Olympic Kitchen side of it, there's going to be so much more availability of just completely integrating them into the look of the kitchen.
Yes, very specific measurements. One of the things that you do for us is send us a package of specs, which we follow very religiously to make sure everything works properly. I mean, this fridge shown here is a Sub-Zero. It has that half-inch gap around it for airflow. Very specific, so that's important. The other thing that we do a lot of as well is this sort of thing, which is flush ovens and the speed oven. So really specific measurements, and this is obviously a Miele fridge beside with a gap around it. But this kind of integrated, clean look is so popular right now.
Yeah, I think people's homes are their biggest investment, and the idea that a kitchen has to be a clunky or an uncomfortable space is long gone now. When we're renovating a kitchen, we can make it look and feel the way we want it to look and feel, and all of that. So and it requires some integration between the kitchen company and the appliance supplier to make sure that all happens in the right way. A fridge is a fridge, but when you make it look like that last picture you showed me, then that's a different living experience of the fridge.
100%. And you're great in explaining to people different options. Some of the confusing things with appliances is some of the specs can have multiple ways to install it. So it takes someone like you to explain it to the client, then organize that information and pass it on to us. It's a vital component to what we do, John. You know that. I don't have to say it to you, but really the help you provide, the support you provide our clients and turn us is really it is, and that's why we've been so loyal to you all these years.
Well, I think when I have my first meeting with a client is just to have a discussion around what they see the project bringing into their home. And some people it's just a simple refresh and a product update, and that's one thing. And then other people want to do that, the fully integrated look and the smooth. As we add more living space to ground floors and kitchens become part of a bigger area, then that integration makes the experience of the room much nicer. It's about a relationship between myself and the client where they're honest enough with me about how they want the kitchen to feel, look, and be when they move in, as opposed to, well, there's the fridge, there's the stove. Like, because it's not that simple.
And I think a lot of it too, correct me if I'm wrong, but clients come in and they don't know. You know, I've been in this industry most of my life. I don't even know because I'm not in it like you are. So a lot of what you do is educate as well. And I hear that from a lot of my clients. John was great, really walked me through the different features, the different options, different price points. And I think that's, you know, really helpful because it is such a confusing marketplace, appliances.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a real separation coming sort of going forward from the commoditized product. So like the 30-inch refrigerator, the 30-inch stove. You know, interestingly enough, those price points are almost completely static over 20 years. My job is to define the client into the right package of appliances and budget for them, knowing that they're going to you and that we're not talking about, you know, a kitchen refresh. We're generally talking about building a new and innovative living space at the center of their home.
John, I had two questions on ovens and interconnectedness. You mentioned how you'd be able to preheat your oven.
Right.
But what if your kids left the pizza box in the oven?
You can't idiot-proof that yet. They are working on it, but right now there's nothing around that yet.
Is there a camera in the oven?
Yes, in one brand, one very esoteric brand, but no, for the most part, no. There are no ovens with cameras yet. There's a heat flare issue around that. But all ovens have a 12-hour shut-off. So if you're going on holidays and you think you forgot to turn the oven on, as long as there was nothing in it, you'll be fine. In 12 hours, it's going to shut off.
Of course.
The bigger thing with the apps and the connectivity is the ability to pre-program recipes and just go in and tell the oven that you want to do Wednesday night lasagna, bing, and the oven's just going to turn on and give you the time and the temperature, and away you go.
Yeah, there are some pretty cool appliances that have that genius chef function where, you know, you can put in a probe in the meat, it'll sear it first, then lower the temperature. And cook on your steak.
Yeah, so the high-end ovens now all have various Master Chef, or Miele calls theirs Master Chef, Wolf calls theirs Gourmet. You can go in and the oven basically, all you need to do is put the food on the rack they tell you to put it on and hit start, and it's going to come out like you're a world-class chef. And it's a nice thing to have. And the other thing, it's always interesting when people talk about, you know, appliances and high end, but, you know, I always people get budget tight about a fridge. And I'm like, well, have you ever added up how much money you spend at Metro or Loblaws in a year on groceries? Then you're aware that refrigerator's keeping all of that food fresh and ready to use and store over a longer period of time. And good refrigeration will give you better shelf life on your food.
The other thing that's really grabbing a foothold in you know, something we see a lot is induction cooking. Where are they taking induction cooking in the future? Is it going to be the mainstay? Gas is still going to be a competitor? How do you feel?
Well, it's interesting. I think gas is going to be around for a while. Although I'm hearing rumors like in California, I don't know whether it passed or not, but on the last state ballot in California, they were going to outlaw gas cooking in homes because of the fossil fuel basis. I think insurance companies may get quicker to it because of the open flame. I mean, gas is a danger that way. Induction nowadays, I don't think there's any excuse for anyone buying an electric cooktop anymore. Induction is just that much better a product. It cooks just like gas. It's instant on, instant off, all the management that you want of heat. Cleanup simpler. No more burnt tea towels, no more worrying about the kids burning the house down cooking dinner. Induction's safer and cooler. It's a bunch of reasons why I think over time induction is going to be the dominant cooking source in kitchens.
The cleanup is so much easier. There's so many benefits to it. Do you find right now induction cooktops are more common?
Right.
So far, do you find more and more ranges develop?
Yeah, so there are basically now all the manufacturers have a 30-inch range. The next big front for induction ranges is going to be in the professionals. So we'll get into 36s. No one really yet has a 48. Fisher Paykel has a 48 that will give you an induction component. Thermador's doing that a little bit. Wolf has a brilliant new 36-inch induction range that just looks gorgeous. and cooks like a behemoth. It's got all the features and benefits in it. So these are the things that are coming, and I think eventually, I may be retired before that, but I think eventually induction is going to be the standard in cooking. I really can't see, even if you go to restaurants now, ask a chef friend, almost every new restaurant, their cook plates are all induction. Like, I've very rarely sold someone an induction who's come back to me and said, "Oh, I wish I'd gone gas."
Wow.
Most people just come to grips with it. And pots and pans, yeah, you have to have it. It has to be the right pot and pan, but that's really not an excuse.
Not a huge issue. Well, let's circle back to the supply chain issue. You mentioned before some really important points. I just want to do a quick review. You mentioned how more people are using their appliances more often. Those older appliances are honking out quicker, needing a replacement. In addition, though, from where we stand, the demand for new renovations, new kitchens, construction is still super, super high. Everyone didn't know where the pandemic was going to go, but consumer demand just hit a steady increase over time. And these manufacturers, you say weren't ready for it, right? They didn't know what to do. And it could have been, COVID issues, concerns with health, and let's shut down because we have a plant of 100 people. But I think it's important to note, this is a global issue, right?
Yes.
It's North America, it's not Canada. What's happening here is not happening in France or Germany. It's happening.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think to put the issue in context, where are these appliances coming from?
For the most part, so Frigidaire and General Electric, for the most part, are Mexico produced now. There's a little bit of a few sort of Rust Belt North American plant, but the vast majority of their product is Mexico. And one of the big problems that both of those companies faced was in getting the equipment that builds appliances is still coming out of Germany and Japan and these first world economies. But when you try to get this new equipment installed and up and running, and you need to fly a crew of 40 engineers into your plant for 10 days or a week, for much of the pandemic, that wasn't available. You couldn't get that done. So that slowed down a lot of plant renovations and a lot of plant retoolings. Caught Frigidaire, they have this product called the Twins, where it's like a Sub-Zero knockoff with side-by-side fridge freezer. They've been gone and missing out of the market for almost 18 months. They're just now beginning to ship. And this is a worldwide problem. And the problem that in Canada is a relatively small market. So as the markets get throttled, so if a plant goes on allocation, it means that every customer to that plant is only going to get a percentage of what they ask for. And the Canadian market is a small market, so we're not getting front of the line access to some of these appliances, which is adding to the slowdown. The industry is spending thousands of man hours and millions of dollars to try and work around this problem. But it is a problem from like the ground floor up. It's not like one thing that's going to fix it. So we can't get parts on when we want to get them. We can't get containers when we need to move parts. We can't get finishes that we need into plants. You see a fridge, it's not, it looks like one box sitting on the floor in my showroom, but there's probably 700 moving pieces altogether in that fridge. And then there's all the logistics around getting that fridge from Mexico to North York. And all of those 700 pieces and all of those logistics are universally challenged around the world. So I think it's unrealistic of us to expect that this is going to be normal for a while. And I think that you just have to plan around that.
For sure. And I mean, we've been operating, you have, with a few interruptions for your storefront. Our manufacturing facility has been running the whole time. We've definitely dealt with some challenges, but we've still been working. We've still been making things happen, albeit some things, there's a few hiccups along the way. But the market's busy. There are people out there contemplating renovations. We get 2-3 new emails a day inquiring about renos. Let's take Miss Smith. We've got a beautiful condo in downtown Toronto. She downsized. She wants to renovate this condo. It's not meeting her needs. And she wants really nice stuff. She wants Sub-Zero. She deserves it and she wants it. What do we tell her when she says, I want to have this done by the summer?
I tell her that that's optimistic, but doable. Some things, though, will be the fall. At this point now, even in January, there are some things under counter refrigeration, some of the newer integrated refrigeration, due to demand and some COVID-related production issues. There are some significant backlog. However, that first picture that came up in your frame with that Wolf range and that Sub-Zero refrigerator, I would tell her with fair confidence that that kitchen could be accessible to her for the summer. And that's not just Tasco. That's just where the industry's at.
How likely for Mrs. Smith would it be that she wouldn't get that stuff in the fall? Like, you know, how confident are you that we're past the worst of it, I guess, is the question.
Well, I think we're sort of in the worst of it right now, but our information going in and our planning around it is better than it was a year ago. So a year ago in January, I was telling people that the summer wasn't a problem.
Right.
And it was, but it turned out to be, much to my chagrin. So now what we're endeavoring to do is to under promise and over deliver. Right. I don't want to try and create any false expectations or hopes, but I will tell you that the manufacturers are all committed to their lineups. They've got product in place. They've got people in place.
So look, in terms of, you know, so Miss Smith, for instance, if she's in a condo and not really that anxious to, you know, maybe she can be talked out of having it finished by summer. Maybe we'd tell her, look, because some products are coming in the fall, why don't we start in the summer and make sure that everything kind of happens as efficiently as possible? I know I'm having conversations with clients like that, telling them, hey, there's an option to wait here. It is a really crazy time. It's kind of, you know, I like to test how anxious someone is, because if they're willing to kind of step back and plan, spend the time planning. I mean, that's the key to any successful project. Spend the time planning, do the research, find out when these appliances might come, and then plan accordingly. So, you know, just like you and the issues you're having with appliance manufacturers, we manufacture kitchens. We're running into the same problems: replacement parts, staff sicknesses, supply chain issues, not just appliances. For us, it's all sorts of inputs that we're dealing with. And I would say for us, we're in the worst of it now as well, given with this new Omicron addition to the pandemic. I think it's the worst phase. I'm actually most worried about the next, you know, January, February, the start of the year, than I actually have been the entire pandemic. So I think we are in the thick of it, and I think there's a little more pain before we get through it.
I would agree, but I think that you're right about the planning. And if people need to know that, so one of the big problems with appliances was that people always thought that they ordered an appliance and that it was stored or warehoused for them. And that was never what happened. The appliances, the best analogy would be a river. There was a river of appliances flowing by, and we just reached into the river and pulled out a fridge for you. That river ran dry, and it's never been full since. So now, if you give us an order now and tell us that it's going to be in September, we roster orders now by date of order. So if I tell you now and you order for September, no one's going to steal your fridge. Your fridge is going to be your fridge in September. And the industry, both my supply side and our company, have spent a lot of time and effort to try and figure that component out, because that's not how we operated in the past. As Tasco, we're still reliant on Sub-Zero or on KitchenAid or on GE. But if GE or KitchenAid fulfill, then Mrs. Smith is going to get her GE or KitchenAid fridge in the order in which it was ordered. No one's going to scoop her fridge. So, and I'm much more comfortable now with that. And this is rolled out now hard for 2 months, and I can really, from my desk, see the improvement. Whereas when product comes in now, in the old days, I had to get up at 6:30 in the morning and scroll through my computer to see where my customers' fridges were. Now I don't worry about it. If that fridge comes in, it goes to that client. And I think that's a game changer for planning for this upcoming year.
What would you say to the client who, listening to this and getting a handle on supply chain issues, which are really real, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this talk with you, to kind of get the real goods out there. But what do you tell people who go to an appliance person and they say, oh yeah, no problem, place your order, I'll have it in 2 months, just to get the sale? Because I know that's happening out there.
Yes. I tell my clients always that we all buy, it doesn't matter, Tasco or any of my competitors, we all buy from the same manufacturers. We are, as the TG Appliance Group, the largest independent appliance dealer in Eastern Canada. No one is getting better access to appliances than we are. If I tell you that something is 3 or 4 or 5 months away, I'm not, what possible reason would I have to mislead you? Now, there may be on white goods, like 30-inch fridges or stuff, not my business. You could go to Home Depot and get a 30-inch fridge quicker than you can get it from me. But if we're talking about the level of product that's going into a new Olympic kitchen, no one has better access or sooner dates than we do. And in my opinion, now, a year later, 2 years into the pandemic, no one in our industry is making more effort and put more time into figuring out how to deal with this current situation. I tell people all the time, on our banner across the street, it says we've been here since 1954. We haven't been here since 1954 because we're not good at this. And we endeavor to take care of the client and make the client feel honored and respected. And we're as upset about the delays and the confusion and all of the anger around this as they are. But we'll get through it. And yes, if someone tells you they can get it in 2 months, I always tell my clients, listen, I'll cancel my order. I'll refund your money. But please don't cancel my order until they actually deliver their fridge.
It's an incredible situation, something we've worked long and hard to set a foundation to kind of deal with these challenges, and I'm happy to have you as a partner. And I encourage anyone that's embarking on a reno, one of the first people you should see is John McGrade at Tasco. He's going to tell you what it's like. You don't have to spend your time reading blogs and researching this. John knows it all. And he's my resource for all things appliances. I trust you with every one of my clients. You've always been amazing. And, I hope your stress levels don't get any higher, because you deserve a bit of a break.
Well, Louie, thank you. And for anyone who's out there looking for a kitchen company, I will tell you that in all the years that Louie and I have been partnered, no one's ever said a bad word about Louie, at least not in my hearing. So it's always a pleasure to deal with you, Louie. Nice to spend some time chatting with you today, and hopefully we can get together and have a meal together shortly.
Sure, I would love that, John. Thank you for your time.
Enjoy your day, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.